Hey everyone, this is Mike for episode 14 of Getting Everyone Moving, a podcast brought to you by Palms to Pines Parasports. And today I have my friend Paul Bose from cold Canada.
Yes, the frigid north. We the north. Hi, Michael. How you doing? Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
Yeah, all right, Paul. So let's get going. So tell us how you got started in the world of adaptive sports.
Well, actually, it was quite a while ago. My stepson Jason got into a train accident in 1985 and lost both of his legs. And initially, he was not interested in playing any sport and wanted to walk. Wanted to not see a wheelchair, but the London Wheelchair Basketball Association, who I've been associated and coaching with since 1988. They're very good people there, and they just took their time with him, and they would send in an amputee to recruit him rather than a paraplegic or spinal cord or something like that. So eventually he took it up and got hooked right away, and I was just simply a fan. I didn't play basketball. It was the only sport I did not play growing up. Hated it. And then they needed a coach. And my good buddy David played varsity college ball in London, and he coached for the first year. And then he had to go back to school. So I kind of took over. And I was very fortunate that being an able-bodied guy, that they took me under their wing. I knew sport. I had coached a lot of other sports before. And they were very patient with me and taught me the game. And it's been a lifelong experience now.
We're going to get more into that, but what advice, would you give parents who has a child where they've had an accident? How do you, what would you tell them to tell their, child or help their child?
Well, certainly they've got to face the facts that, that they've been injured and stuff like that, but reassure them that there is certainly life after this. And I think that you hear a lot of kids or national team members say that that was their first instinct was to be kind of negative and whatnot, but just to get out there and be patient and not to push your kid. Get them into all kinds of different sports. Obviously wheelchair basketball is the greatest sport in the world. However, there are plenty of other sports out there. And I encourage all of my athletes to try every single sport. Take it very slow to start because it takes a long time to master the chair or the sled or a set of skis or whatever. So don't expect to be national team athletes right off the bat. And I've seen a lot of that where that first contact, the athlete comes in and says, I want to go to the Paralympic Games. You're the coach of the Paralympic team. I want to go. And so you have to really be careful about that. And you have to be just as careful with the parents as well. And make sure that they have fun first. And it all depends where they come in. You may have an 8-year-old kid coming in, or you may have a 35-year-old guy that's just become amputated, or a girl that maybe had been in a car accident. So basically, it's enjoy the sport. Be very patient with everybody. They're dealing with a lot of other things than just trying to learn a new sport. So it's all the life things that they have to learn as well. One of my players, Billy Langeveld, great kid. He's been around for a very long time now. He has his own kid, and he said he didn't really learn about all the things that he needed to do in rehab. He learned about those things being on our team.
What are some of those things?
Really, just how to transfer, how to catheterize, how to go to the bathroom. Learned all about you have an accident. You don't have to be embarrassed. It happens. The old saying happens, but that there are like people around there. So it's when those things happen, it's not something that you're not the first one for an accident to happen. So people are there to help you out. People are there to show you the different things, how to get in and out of doors, how to transfer your car, without wiping out. Take one wheel off your wheelchair instead of both. And some doors aren't made that way. And just how to bump in and around a door frame that's not made for wheelchairs. Just different stuff like that.
Really practical. Um, what have you learned from, working with coaching adaptive athletes, and where has coaching adaptive athletes, taken you throughout the world?
Oh, well, um, I have to say that I've been really privileged and honored to been all over the world. And actually, my latest trip was with a really great guy from California named Mike Rosencrantz. I don't know if you know him or not, but I was able to share a fabulous experience with him with the International Community of the Red Cross in Nepal last year.
Yeah.
And that was just my latest trip. But since 1992, I started with Team Canada. So I've been fortunate enough to go to 5 Paralympic Games, won 3 gold medals, a silver medal, World Championships, coached Team Canada juniors. So I was on the bench for Team Canada for 25 years. And then when I retired from that, another interesting opportunity came along with the Invictus Games. So it's one of the best organizations I've ever been involved with Joe Corrali and Jay Faco leading that up. And so I've been to a few Invictus Games, and um, another door opened up as well. It's always one of those things where one door closes, another door opens. So right away, Team Germany called me up. So I'm an assistant coach for Team Germany as well. And then ICRC opened up. So spent 25 years in Canada, and I'm busier now than I was then. So pretty much been all over the world, and I have got friends all around this globe. A lot of those friends have actually come to visit me at my cottage in Grand Bend, Ontario, on Lake Huron. So hopefully you'll be one of those guys someday.
Yes.
So great memories, great friends. A lot of times you don't really remember who won or lost, but you certainly remember the great friendships you made all over the world.
So what are some of the learnings, though, that you've taken from, having this just incredible experience? I mean, you talk about being privileged, but, you're really blessed. I mean, what an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it's like I said, I coached a lot of things. I coached hockey and softball or fastball. I don't know if you guys call it that, but fastball. It's not slow pitch, but it's like hardball, but it's pitched underhand. And so I coached a lot of those sports and played squash and golf. I have a passion for golf and whatnot. So when I got into adaptive sports, the biggest thing I found out was that these guys and gals, they're just athletes. They're not disabled athletes. They're athletes with a disability. And it's one of those things, it's like, how would I go in there and coach and whatnot? Like I said before, my London team was very patient with me, and I learned from one of the greatest guys that I've ever met, Keith Cartwright, who founded our organization and was on our national team as well. And he said, just teach us, just coach us like you would anybody else. You want us to go through that brick wall, we'll go through that brick wall for you. Understand that different classifications have different things that they can do. So don't look at any of us as disabled. Just look at us as athletes. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned, that realistically, I go into a gym, I don't even see the chair. I just see a bunch of people that are interested in learning the sport, competing at the sport, playing at the highest level or at the junior level. That's just as gratifying. Or like you and I when we were in Nepal. That was just absolutely fabulous to get to a clean slate and just teach those guys and gals all about the game. And they were just sponges, and they were so awesome to coach. And just the life lessons of what sport can be. The sport, it's just a powerful tool. The transformational power of sport from somebody that's newly injured into, hey, there's a lot of people like me out there, and I can go out and I can get in a chair, and it's a freedom that they can enjoy, and it's something that if you initiate it correctly, they'll be able to enjoy that sport, not just wheelchair basketball, for the rest of their lives.
Have you found, one of the things I've found working in this field is that I become more sensitive to kind of barriers for people with disability. Like I'll always go, when I can travel, I'll go into a restroom and look at the facility for someone with a person with a disability. It's just part of what I do.
Yeah.
Have you found that to be the case for you as well?
Oh, absolutely. With my stepson being a double amputee and just the curb cuts. We live in pretty places in North America, being from Canada, USA. But I mean, we saw that in Nepal. I remember driving to the gym the first time. He looked back at me and said, "Look at this!" And there was a guy going down the street on like a moped, and he had two wheelchair guys holding onto the back of his bike, and that's how they got to the gym. And that just to me is incredible. That sometimes we take things just as if they should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we traveled on a big bus for a long time. We bought this old bus for London, and we'd have to stop at many, spots along the way. And on several occasions, our guys would go into the bathroom, and then they'd get the maintenance guy and say, "Do you realize this door really isn't, a good door for a basket or a wheelchair user? It opens in. I can get in, but then how do I close it? How do I close the door?" So they were, it's like learning all the way across the country and all that stuff, and just the traveling that I've done, going on airplanes and not being able to access planes through the door and having to go up through where they, take the food in, and going up on a tow motor and all the different types of travel that we've had, that things just aren't all that accessible. So yeah, we're very wary to that. A lot of my friends, of course, and Keith Cartwright that I mentioned earlier on, he was a huge advocate of those types of things for people with disabilities to be able to access places. Our gym that we practiced in for years, we couldn't get into the bathroom. And then they finally expanded those doors so that the walls, like the whole doors, had to be moved so that our athletes could get into the bathroom. So yeah, it's an eye opener for sure. I mean, you even come across a lot of times you get into a taxi cab and the taxi driver asks you for the money, rather than the guy in the wheelchair, stuff like that. And that still occurs. And it's like, I'm not paying, he's paying, so it's that type of thing. So
That's right. I think, Paul, that sport teaches people, how to advocate for themselves as well. I mean, you build confidence. You learn to be more assertive. Have you seen that kind of develop in some of the athletes that you've coached?
Oh, well, I think that goes along able-bodied or para sports. But I see it a lot even with our national team athletes, right? Like just different people that enter a gym and they see the Patrick Anderson or the Joey Johnson and stuff like that, and they just go into a shell and they're like, "Oh man, I can't compete with these guys." And having guys like that around that are amazing human beings, they bring them in and say, "Hey, try this, do it this way, do it that way. Don't do that." So and then you can just see their confidence build. That hey, give me a couple of years and I can get my game elevated to where I might be able to make this national team. And in our junior ranks, I've got some kids that can't even dribble the basketball. They can barely push their chairs.
Yeah.
But it's not about what they can't do. It's about their potential, and that's the thing. Is like seeing them reach their potential, so that a gold medal for somebody might be able to dribble the ball 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you have to celebrate.
Yeah.
And it's those types of things. And I've got one girl who she was 16 years old when she started, could barely dribble the ball. We stuck with her. The team stuck with her. Giving her confidence, and she never saw herself really going to college. And now she's going to college. She still can't hit the 10-foot hoop, but that doesn't matter to her. She picks like you wouldn't believe. She's a great passer, and she's a great teammate. And that's what we look for, is that potential. Not that you always have to get to that gold medal. That's never been in my philosophy of coaching.
Yeah.
It's something that certainly when I'm at the elite level, that is what you need to achieve.
Yeah.
But the smaller things are the gold medals. Those are the little things that we can take and say, that's my gold medal.
Yeah. So in Canada, I mean, you're all pretty well developed in terms of, having teams for juniors, right, all the way to adults and all that. Can you talk a little bit about, Canadian wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, Canadian Wheelchair Basketball Association, Wheelchair Basketball Canada now. I was the president of it actually from 2000 to 2005, but it's had a really great structure for as long as I can remember. We've got junior teams, we've got junior national championships. We've got a thing called the Canada Games as well, which is an able-bodied movement, but wheelchair basketball was actually the first sport that was included in it. And it's like a mini Paralympic Games because all of our provinces have a team in the Canada Games. So it has an opening ceremonies, it has closing ceremonies, it has the athletes village, it has everything that you can think of that kind of prepares those athletes to get ready for the next level. We have national championships, women's national championships. I'm the coach of the women's Ontario women's team as well. Something I'm extremely proud of. That a great bunch of gals there. That 5 years ago there was only 3 or 4 of them on the team, and they wanted to expand that. So now we've got 20, 30 girls that come out to try out for the team. We for the first couple of years we never won a game. And yet you would think that we were the champions of that league, just the way these girls looked after each other. And so that was very rewarding as well. So then we've got the national teams. Canada's men's and women's team have done really well. And we also do a lot of, or not do a lot of, but in able-bodied involvement in the sport. And realistically, that's elevated our women's game back in the day. Tim Frick and Joe Higgins, back in the 90s, won Canada's first gold medal, and they won 3 gold medals in a row. But a lot of the people behind the scenes were those able-bodied players that were able to push the classifiable players on the team. So a lot of our teams throughout Canada are mixed with able-bodied people because we don't have the numbers states have. So some places, if you only have 3 disabled individuals in the city or in the league, how do you get them to play games? You add in their brothers and sisters or their friends, and then they get in the chair and you can't get them out. They have so much fun with it. And I know that in National Wheelchair Basketball, the NWBA, which London is one of the longest serving teams in that organization, we don't allow able-bodied players in London, except me as the coach. But the NWBA tried it a couple times, but they've just decided against it. So it's kind of funny. I brought up my old book here. This is the book that I learned from. This is my Bible, and I still have it in volume 2. And the people who wrote these books eventually became my good friends, Brad Hedrick, Dan Burns, and Lou Shaver. Guys that literally wrote the book on wheelchair basketball, and I studied every bit of that. So now, 30 years later, we're good buddies and stuff like that. But wheelchair basketball in Canada, we don't have the college system like you guys do, but a lot of our players actually go down to the college system. And our head coach for a long time, Mike Broadley, coached at the University of Whitewater, Wisconsin, and as well as University of Illinois. So Patrick Anderson, he was University of Illinois, Joey Johnson, Chris Stoutenberg, all these guys went down to school there before they went over and played professionally in Germany and whatnot. So we don't really have those professional type leagues or a college system that can feed into that. But we have to thank you guys for that college system. But we have great leagues throughout like our league in Ontario. We've got 5 or 6 teams, and then the team that wins that goes to the national championship every year. So your provincial winner goes and meets at the national championships.
So you have a lot of people playing, a lot of athletes. Why haven't any colleges in Canada kind of picked up on this then?
Well, I think, Mike, it's just the number of players. We just wouldn't have the numbers to facilitate that. So to have a team of 10 to 12 in a university system. So what we do have is the National Academy in Toronto, but it's not really a college system, and a lot of the players, unfortunately, haven't taken classes. They could go to U of T. There's a University of Toronto But it's basically a national team academy where the up and comers, the next generation players, they come and train together, as well as a lot of our national team players train there as well. Um, but again, a lot of those players go to Alabama or wherever they can get some playing time.
Yeah, I see that as not just Canada, but in the US. I see it as such a big issue. I was recently looking at a chart that the University of Michigan had done, and they're getting into adaptive sports. But, the number of colleges doing collegiate level sports, whether it's tennis, basketball, track and field, it's a handful, right? And so you're asking, youth who may have grown up in, say, in California, if they want to play basketball, the closest is Arizona. So you're asking youth who grew up in Canada, if they want to continue playing basketball or do tennis, I mean, they're out of the country. It's a difficult thing. And I'm hoping that as the years go by, we have more collegiate adaptive sport programs. So.
Yeah, not just wheelchair basketball, right? Like I know the track and field program is good and all that stuff. But yeah, it'd be nice if they could be able to come to play whatever sport that they wanted to, right? But wheelchair basketball, of course, is the top draw, as well as track. Yeah, I wasn't going there with the wheelchair basketball being the best sport, but we all know
I want to pick up on something that you said about able-bodied participants, because I see part of adaptive sports is creating more societal inclusion, creating greater awareness. So I'd like to get your thoughts on, inclusion. How do we do that? How do we do more of that?
Well, I think it's one of those things. When I started in '88, and we would go to the Spitfire Challenge. Michael Bryce was the organizer of that. It was one of the world's largest wheelchair basketball tournaments. And the Spitfires consistently won that. And they had a guy named Jerry Tonello on that team. And he was a great big guy, and he was a heck of a player. And I couldn't stand him. I thought, this big bully and all this stuff. And then I went to a symposium that was put on at that tournament. And he explained that his friend Bobby Bryce, well, his brother Michael was now in a wheelchair. And in order for them to play sports with their brother, they had to get into the chair. And Jerry said, I just didn't understand the hatred that would be expressed for an able-bodied person in the chair. And I was one of those people. Not that I overtly did that, but it was just like, why are you playing this game? This is for people in the chair. So Jerry Tell turned out to be one of my best friends. Well, and I spent 25 years with him on the Canadian team bench. I joke that I slept with Jerry more than I've slept with my wife, because we room so much together. You're on the road so much. But Jerry unfortunately passed away just before the Rio Games. But he really showed me what the able-bodied involvement was all about. That I can get in a chair and I can play with my friends. And those able-bodied people get in the chair and they don't want to get out, because we know it's a blast. It's so much fun. And the toughest person to recruit actually is the ambulatory, single amputee or whatever, because they don't see the chair as a piece of equipment. They see the chair as, oh my God, I'm going to be in that wheelchair for the rest of my life, and that's just not the way it is. And in Canada, we try to show it that it's a sport, and a high sport, very high level sport, with all the banging and crashing and everything that goes on. And when you take people, you say, don't look at the wheelchairs, look at the skill, look at the passing, look at the camaraderie, look at the teamwork. And those types of things, like, oh my God. And then they start to not ask questions about what are the chairs made of, blah, blah, blah. It's what are the defenses? What are the offenses? Look at the tactics. They're very similar to the able, and then they start to see it as a sport. And that's what's great about it. So
yeah. I love the strategy. I've really gotten into this boccia ball, which initially I thought, what is this? But I've been playing, with adaptive athletes, and it's what a strategic, kind of game. I love it. Oh, yeah. It's so cool, so yeah.
Very exciting.
It is, it's just, it's great. Yeah. So we're coming kind of to the end of this interview. So what kind of words of would you like to leave us or leave the listening audience with?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is getting involved. Is that first contact that I talked about earlier. Uh, when you have a man or woman, old or young, whatever, when they first come into the gym, it's pretty intimidating. Um, to be injured, to see these people out there whipping around in wheelchairs or sleds or tennis, uh, playing rugby. You know, rugby is an awesome sport as well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so uh, just take your time with that first contact. Don't push them into a chair right away. Let them just observe if they want to. Let them go up and down the sideline. Have a look, see what's going on, get the feel for the game, but sit and talk with them. You know, I do that a lot. I sit and talk with them. I explain what's going on the floor, and then I'll go out and coach a little bit. But I've got a great coaching staff that handles all that stuff while I'm out there. Then I'll come back and talk to them, and then we got a couple plants, that are in the
Yeah.
athlete system too that might come over. If it's an amputee, then an amputee will come over and talk to them and just say, hey, how, and don't try to push them into the chair. And that's the biggest thing, is that first contact is recruiting them, because our numbers are so low. We can't stand to lose one athlete because they didn't have a great first contact. And the second thing is communication. I find communication is the driver of everything, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, when practices are, when games are, when's the bus leaving. You really have to make sure to communicate to all your athletes, all your staff, all your volunteers. Be thankful, be kind to everyone. Guys like, kind of guys like me that have had a lot of success and stuff like that, we've been successful because of the volunteers, because of the people that don't get to go to all of these games. So it's one of those things that just be thankful of where you are, and just keep working hard, but work hard and you'll get there someday. Because I know in 1988, I said to myself, I want to get to the Paralympic Games someday, and I never thought I would. And then Joe Higgins had me out as an assistant coach on his team in '94 at the World Championships. Then I got to go to Atlanta. And then I was thinking, wow, that is fabulous. And it was just, I think it's through communication and just how you teach your players, how you communicate to your players. What's the saying that, a player doesn't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah. And I think that's a really, really important thing. So, again, with my Invictus Games athletes, I thought the highest level I could ever achieve was to go to a Paralympic Games with Team Canada. And it was. But then I got involved with these Invictus athletes, which, as you guys know, are Wounded Warriors, Soldier On. And I've been to Warrior Games. I was at Warrior Games last year in Tampa, and it was an amazing experience. But that is the highest level that I could ever achieve, is to serve those who have served. And to me, that is the highest honor that I will ever achieve, is to be involved with these Invictus Games athletes. So, and a lot of what I do there, it's not about winning gold medals. It's about getting to the start line. Okay. The finish line is way beyond the finish line. It's way beyond the closing ceremonies. Yeah. And part of that is that communication, letting them know that they're athletes, letting them know that somebody cares, not just during these games, but forever. And I think that's kind of what I take. Work hard, have dreams, and just keep moving and get involved. Get involved. Get out there. Palms to Pines is a perfect opportunity, right? You've got this great program going there, and don't just watch. Get out and give it a try. And you may not like this sport or that sport, but find one that you do, and then just give it your all.
Well, Paul, thank you. This has been a wonderful interview, and we wish you warm weather.
It's coming, Michael.
All right, take care.
Thanks for having me, buddy. All right.
Bye.
Talk soon.